Parents and twin sister kicked me out at 16. I lived in a tent and struggled for years. Now I have a house, and they showed up uninvited with my sister's family demanding to move in. It was the middle of a freezing Russian winter when my life was turned upside down. I was 16, a time when you're supposed to be worrying about school and friends, not survival. My twin sister Nadia and I had always had a strained relationship. She was the golden child, and I was, well, not. That day started like any other, with my parents, Mikhail and Irina, doting on Nadia while I was an afterthought. Breakfast was tense, as usual, but I had no idea what was coming. After school, I came home to find my stuff packed in garbage bags. My dad was standing at the door, his face stone cold. "You're 16 now, Dmitri," he said. "It's time you learned to fend for yourself. We can't afford you anymore." I was stunned. "What the fuck are you talking about? Where am I supposed to go?" Nadia stood smirking in the background. My mom chimed in, "You'll figure it out. Just go. Don't come back." They shoved me out into the snow, and that was it. No money, no plan, just a kid with nowhere to go. I ended up setting up a tent in a nearby forest, shivering through the nights, scavenging for food during the day. It was hell. Living in that tent, I had to grow up fast. I scrounged for food, did odd jobs, and begged when I had to. The cold was unbearable, but I was too stubborn to give up. I started to find a rhythm, though. I learned which dumpsters had the freshest leftovers, which streets were safest to sleep on when I needed to leave the forest. I remember one night I was huddled in my tent, trying to read by flashlight. A group of drunk guys stumbled upon me and decided it'd be fun to mess with the homeless kid. They kicked my tent, threw beer bottles at me, and laughed as I curled up, trying to protect myself. It was a reminder of how vulnerable I was and how cruel people could be. But I didn't let it break me. I found solace in small things. A warm cup of soup from a kind stranger, a good book I found in a charity bin. I kept pushing forward, always telling myself it wouldn't be like this forever. Change when I met an old man named Ivan. He ran a small mechanic shop and saw me begging for food outside a grocery store. He offered me a sandwich and a job. I started working for him, learning everything I could about fixing cars. Ivan was tough but fair, and he became like a father to me. Working at the shop, I saved up every ruble I could. After a couple of years, I managed to rent a tiny apartment. It was a dump, but it was mine. I felt like I was finally getting a handle on my life. Ivan continued to mentor me, and I worked my ass off to prove myself. Eventually, I earned enough to start taking night classes to finish high school. The day I graduated was the proudest moment of my life. I had come so far from that scared kid in the tent. I got a better job at a bigger garage, and with Ivan's help, I even managed to buy my own small house. It was a dream come true. I thought I'd left my old life behind, but then, one rainy evening, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find my parents and Nadia standing there, drenched and desperate. My sister had married a guy named Sergei, and they had 2 kids. Apparently, they'd fallen on hard times, lost their house, Sergei lost his job, and they had nowhere to go. My mom started crying, "Dmitri, please, we need your help. We've got nowhere else to go." I stood there, stunned. "Are you fucking serious? You kicked me out when I was 16, left me to die, and now you want my help?" Nadia, holding her kids, looked at me with the same disdain she always had. "We're family, Dmitri. You can't just turn us away." It was surreal. The people who abandoned me were now begging for my help. I didn't know what to say, but I couldn't just leave them out in the rain. I let them in, gave them a place to sleep for the night, but I made it clear it was temporary. The next morning, we had a long, heated conversation. My parents tried to justify what they did, blaming money problems and saying they thought it was for the best. Nadia was mostly silent, still acting like she was better than me. I finally had enough. "Look, I've built this life from nothing. I struggled, I'd suffered, and I survived. You don't get to just walk back in and take advantage of what I've worked for." My dad tried to argue, but I cut him off. "You can stay for a week. That's it. After that, you're on your own." The week was tense. I helped them find a shelter and some resources, but I didn't let them stay longer than I'd promised. The day they left, my mom tried to thank me, but I couldn't even look at her. Now they're out of my house, but I can't shake the feeling of betrayal. I'll never forget what they did to me, but I also can't forget that they're my family. It's a complicated mess of emotions, and I'm still trying to figure out how to move forward. But one thing's for sure, I'm never letting anyone take advantage of me again. I fought too hard for this life to let it slip away.